We summon our friends to gather in the Forgotten Night. The main thing we wanted to discuss is Estinien, to assess our current knowledge about his situation and see if a method of saving him even exists. First, we should recall the moment we saw Estinien get taken over by Nidhogg, where his form was shrouded in Nidhogg's dark aether until he turned into Nidhogg himself. When he appeared again at the Falcon's Nest, Nidhogg's eyes were attached to his armor. It would have been easy if the eyes were only attached to his armor, but Y'shtola could sense that his aether was being smothered and entangled by Nidhogg's dark tendrils. But that doesn't mean he is gone. Underneath Nidhogg's seething aura there was a glimmer of something else. Estinien's will still yet lingers under all of Nidhogg's rage. An option would be to remove the eyes from the armor, but there is no record of that allowing Estinien to be set free of Nidhogg. But with the talk we had earlier with Alfinawad, we have decided to do everything and anything we can to save our dear friend. That means even if it has risks, we will be willing to take them. Even if that risk is that Estinien's soul may not survive the violent separation of the two. Our gathering is interrupted by Honoroit. He has been looking everywhere for us. Imric has asked for the Warrior of Light and Alfinawad to speak with him. Before we leave, Krill warns us that Alfinawad's judgment is being clouded by his emotions for Estinien. She wants us to keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't do anything rash. Midgard Sorma appears, stating they think more of their friend's deliverance than their foe's defeat, but will history commend their fealty or condemn their folly? Then he disappears.
The conference held at Falcon's Nest was to be a celebration of the reconciliation twixt man and dragon. But the lingering shade of Nidhogg, clad in the flesh of the Azure Dragoon, did mark the occasion by spilling the blood of his own kind. A timely atrocity to remind the children of Ishgard that the Dragonsong War was far from over. And when fear gave way to fury, the call to arms rang out anew. Death to Nidhogg! Death to Nidhogg!
As Honoroit said, we go to meet Sir Imric to see what news of Nidhogg he may have. They have no idea as to where Nidhogg's location is, but that is of no importance, as he is likely to come back soon if his words at the Falcon Nest have any merit. In fact, he may come back faster than they hoped. Ishgard is currently bolstering their defenses and preparing every able-bodied warrior at their disposal. However, he didn't summon us to speak about strategy. Nidhogg has both of his eyes in his possession. Now no one will be able to muster the strength to beat him. We need to find someone who is of equal strength as Nidhogg, who is willing to fight for Ishgard. He speaks of his brood brother Hraesvelgir, but convincing him to take up arms against his brother, that is no easy feat. He is unwilling to involve himself in the affairs of men. Times have changed though. Imric is willing to travel to speak with Hraesvelgir in person, to plead his case and accept any price he asks of him. He cannot do it alone, and he needs our aid to complete such a journey. Obviously we will help him with his journey, but us coming will not help with the chances of success. He wasn't very fond of us when we first met him. We arrive at the Zenith and blow the horn to summon Hraesvelgir just as we did before. He is angered that we dared to summon him again, even after his warning last time. But we had to. It is for the future of peace between man and dragon. The stage is set, and it's Imric's floor. He has come to parley on behalf of his people. Hraesvelgir has seen right through our intent. He knows what we want him to do battle against his brood brother. He could read what Imric wanted to say in his eyes. Shiva built a bridge twixt man and dragon, which the forefathers of Ishgard tore down. Was Nidhogg the only one who was angered at the murder of Ratatoska? Hraesvelgir's soul cried out for vengeance too. It's only because he consumed Shiva and became one with her that he isn't out there fighting alongside Nidhogg as we speak. Ever since that day, he has only seen man as harbingers of despair. His children are allowed to make their own decisions, be it either aid Ishgard or aid Nidhogg. To even ask for more aid just shows how arrogant man truly is. Hraesvelgir is done speaking to us, and Imric is at a loss for words. Alfinawad tries to continue our plea. We understand that he despaired at what man did to him, but does he no longer have the smallest flame of hope? Has he seen such a light in his dark existence? Actually yes, He allowed Ysayle to ride on his back so she could help us in Izleah. That was because she lamented at her sins. She wanted to do something with her final days and was willing to die for it. She showed a passion that was reminiscent of Shiva, and it caused him to act. And personally, he was tired of man using his brother's eye for ill. Then he may not have given up on mankind after all. He can tell the difference between the people who repent their sins and those who live with them perpetually. He watches to see how we allow the past to influence the future. Even if Heavensward is telling some sort of truth, what does it matter? He would have Hraesvelgr slay Nidhogg to save a city of mortals. Imric is now finding his passion reignited, as we have a glimmer of hope placed in front of us. Hraesvelgr isn't completely lost. But what should we do? The crime that is about to be committed is pure evil, and it needs condemning, even if the person committing the crime is your brood brother. When Imric's father was committing crimes that could no longer be ignored, he allowed the Warrior of Light to kill him. If he wasn't stopped, there would have been a holy war, which could have caused thousands upon thousands of casualties. He put an end to him to spare the lives of the Ishgardians and the Dravanians. Now Nidhogg is preparing to slay those we are trying to save. He has even taken Estinien's body as his own. But if his duty is to slay his dearest friend, to slay his direst foe, he will do it. Is Imric's righteousness meant to persuade Hraesvelgr to break his oath? Midgard Sorma manifests in front of us and actually helps our cause. Even he acknowledges that we intend to bring salvation for both Ishgard and Estinien. This isn't Nidhogg truly returning. It is a shade, a manifestation of his vengeance. He will not command Hraesvelgr to help, but he should think on it. If we ever needed more of an ally at this time, Midgard Sorma would be the one. Considering Hraesvelgr is his own son, his words may weigh more on his mind compared to our own. Still, we should say something. While the shade of vengeance remains, the future will ever be uncertain. Hraesvelgr ponders for a moment. Nidhogg's transformation is partially his fault too. When Nidhogg was dying and blinded, he did lend him his eye, empowered his revenge for this long. His never-ending wrath has given him all-surpassing might. Do we mortals have the strength to stand against such a terrible shade? Maybe it is time to put us to the test and prove ourselves to him. He will await us in the rooms where Ratatoska once lived. He will put us to a trial. If we succeed, he will consider helping us beat the shade of his brood brother, Nidhogg. We make our way to the entrance of Sor Kai. It is a forgotten palace that floats in the churning mist. It was once the roost of Ratatoska until the mortals slew her. It wasn't originally named Sor Kai until her death. They then named it Sor Kai, as it roughly translates to sad apology. It is their own apology for not being able to avert her fate. Each of us were given our own trial. Heavensward had a trial against a fully recovered Vidofnir. Imric had a trial against Vedfolnir, and we had a trial against Hraesvelgr. Seeing as we were able to defeat Nidhogg before, albeit with only one eye, he wanted to challenge us directly. We are victorious in our trial. He knew we were strong, but after tasting our strength firsthand, we are truly stronger than he imagined. Hraesvelgr will place his trust in the seed of man one last time. Depending on what we do, either the flame of hope within his heart will be rekindled anew, or be extinguished forever. Imric and Heavensward returned victorious from their trials. That we are alive is proof of our determination. We will now fight as allies and banish Nidhogg's vengeful shade. Hraesvelgr swears on his oath that the shade will meet his end. He swears it on the memory of his beloved Shiva and the soul of the lost Ysayle. Our negotiations have gone all according to plan. The trials went accordingly, and we have now earned Hraesvelgr's cooperation. If it wasn't for our heroism, the great Wyron's heart may have never been swayed. We are ready to battle Nidhogg, but we have no idea when he will strike. How long must we sit in fear, waiting for his attack? Just after pondering this thought, a screech can be heard across the skies. Midgard Sorma tells us that the cry heralds his coming. Nidhogg has taken flight and is heading for Ishgard. Hraesvelgr lands in front of us. The time is now. We must return to Ishgard as fast as possible. They will lend us their wings. Together we will bring an end to Nidhogg's wrathful song. Our allies in Ishgard are being assaulted by Nidhogg's brood. Their attacks are relentless, and they are trying to defend the city for as long as they can. They will. Nay, they have to hold them here until we return. But it is looking grim. Their numbers overwhelm us, and they can just fly over the opposition if need be. The soldiers haven't been trained enough to fight this many dragons. Our own numbers are dwindling. Above, more dragons are flying in. That dragon is the size of Nidhogg. But it's actually us riding Hraesvelgir with Vidofnir and Vedfolnir. It seems that we may have been a tad bit late, but we are here now to provide them the reinforcements they need. Our army is retreating and gathering the wounded. The rest of Nidhogg's army moves out the way. Nidhogg lands at the other end of the bridge and stares at both the Warrior of Light and Hraesvelgir. Nidhogg is enraged upon seeing Hraesvelgir helping the mortals who took their sister's life. Why does he stand there with the vermin? Abandon this warshade. The suffering he causes has no end. We have learned of our forefathers' sins and betrayals, and now aim to make amends between their people. Their grief and their loss will not be forgotten, but reconciliation will stop them from fighting a needless war. Forsake his vengeance and be at peace. Nidhogg roars back. What ramblings are these? Maybe your beloved has robbed you of your wits. Maybe her perfume has made you forget the stench of Ratatoska's blood. No one ever gets to talk about his beloved like that. Nidhogg is happy to see that rage still exists in Hraesvelgir, but don't use that rage on words, use it in battle. We look at Hraesvelgir. He seems to be ready for a battle, so we move out of the way and allow them to fight. But in the end, it is Nidhogg's victory. He tears off one of Hraesvelgir's wings. He was bested. Nidhogg has been fighting for 1,000 years without rest. Does he really think he could beat him? The battle is not over yet. He has given his power and hope to another. Hraesvelgir is missing an eye. He bestowed that eye to us, and with it comes his hope and power. Nidhogg calls Hraesvelgir a fool for trusting his power to a mortal.
Children of the land, do you hear?
It takes him a second, but he recognizes us as the foe who stormed into his home and bested his half-powered form. But now he is full, and nothing in creation can beat him. Still, we have to try. All of our allies' hopes rest upon our shoulders. It is now up to us to finish where Hraesvelgir left off. With our might combined, we'll put an end to the shade of Nidhogg and bring about peace for both of our peoples.
Memories dimmed by shadowed hearts.
The battle between the great Wyrm Nidhogg was relentless. Midway through the battle, he switches into Estinien's form and begins to combine both of their abilities together. When that doesn't work, he switches back to his original form and activates the same ability he used to best Hraesvelgir. Now his flames of vengeance are seeping through his hide and appearing as bright orange outlines on his body. But in the end, the shade is bested by the combined might of the Warrior of Light and Hraesvelgir. Nidhogg is defeated. His etheric form begins to disperse, leaving behind Estinien, but the eyes are still attached to his mail. Nidhogg won't give up. He is vengeance incarnate. He won't be bested by mortals, and we shall die by his hand. He readies his arm to throw a spear at us, but his arm stops midway. It starts shaking violently, dropping the spear entirely. Estinien resurfaces, stating that this hand isn't his. He takes control of that hand and wraps it around his own throat. With Nidhogg mostly defeated, it seems that the little bit left of Estinien was able to finally break through Nidhogg's will and take some form of control. He asks a favor of us, to finish him now, whilst he has Nidhogg subdued. But we already decided with Ul'dah that we would do everything in our power to save him. We rush over to him and begin to pull the eyes from his mail. Nidhogg's aether begins bursting forward, causing pain to both of us, but we cannot give up on him. We won't allow him to die like this. We pull with all of our might, but they won't budge. The pain is getting worse. Then suddenly, the pain starts to mild. Ul'dah feels a hand placed upon his. He looks towards it and sees it is the spirit of Ysayle. The same thing happens to us, and we are aided by the spirit of Horshfon. Their strength gives us the boost we need to pull the eyes from his mail. A light blinds our vision as we tear the eyes out. Nidhogg's spirit soars towards the skies and returns to Aether. We were victorious. If there was a step above victorious, that would be where we are right now. This is the best case scenario. We defeated Nidhogg and saved our friend Estinien. We now have both of the eyes, but what do we do with them? A loud yell from Imric breaks the silence as he tells us to cast the eyes into the abyss. We sprint to the edge of the bridge and throw them as far as possible. Hopefully they will never see the light of day again. The battle is done. Estinien still yet lives. Imric sends Lucia ahead of him to tell the healers that they should be ready to receive Estinien, then begins to pick up Estinien's body. Ul'dah tries to help him, but he wants to at least do this much on his own. With Nidhogg dead, his horde has scattered. Thanks to the help of Hraesvelgir, they have saved many lives that would have been lost, meaning that the alliance that was created was worth it. Even though Hreysvelgir did grant us quite a lot of power, he states that it was our own skill that brought us victory, and not his eye. He wishes a swift recovery for Estinien, and bids farewell to the children of man. And with that, Hreysvelgir flies back to the churning mists to continue his reclusive life. After the battle, we return to House Fortemps and speak with our comrades. We are the heroes of the hour. We are too humble to be acquainted as such. In the end, it was the memories of Horchfont and Ysael that guided us to victory. Still, for a job well done, it is given. From all of Ishgard. Everyone is in high spirits after such a victory against Nidhogg. There will be time to celebrate later. Edmund expected that we would return here after the battle, and has prepared chambers for us to retire to. Alfinawad thanks him for his hospitality, but leaves for the Temple Knight's infirmary. He must be worried about Estinien's condition, and wants to see him as soon as possible. His pains worry him more than his own. In fact, his resilience is starting to resemble our own. Knowing that Estinien is in critical condition, we will go to the Azure Dragoon, and provide Alfinawad with any comfort we can. For the time being, Alfinawad has stationed himself by the bedside of Estinien, and is determined to remain there until the bitter end. As Imric is retelling a tale of Estinien, he is interrupted by a messenger who urges both of us to head to the infirmary immediately. Taking no time, we both go as fast as we can to Estinien's quarters. Upon entering, all we can see is Alfinawad uncontrollably crying with the chief healer standing above his body. We are both assuming the worst case scenario has happened. This can't be true, after we tried so hard to save him. Estinien's eyes slowly open, and he tells Alfinawad to stop his unending weeping. It grates on his ears. Estinien is alive. In actuality, Alfinawad was crying tears of joy for his awakening. Imric scolds Estinien. If Alfinawad thought any less of him, he'd probably be dead. Estinien was only joking. He is very thankful to both Alfinawad and the Warrior of Light. He is not sure how we convinced Hreysvelgir to fight against Nidhogg, but he is glad we did. Imric then apologizes. When he last saw him, he sent an arrow right for his heart. Estinien is fine with it. He had a duty to defend Ishgard. If he didn't do it, he wouldn't follow him, nor would he trust him at his back. In the end, he came up with the same idea, that he would have to die for Nidhogg's reign to end. So nobody needs to apologize for anything. Estinien was aware to everything that was happening whilst Nidhogg had his tendrils burrowed into him. Nidhogg's mind was vast but empty. There was only black water that stirred every time he remembered Ratatoska's murder. The waves never calmed and continued to rage on endlessly. It was like a reflection of Estinien's own heart. The same rage he was feeling over Nidhogg slaying his family is the same rage Nidhogg felt over man murdering his family. That was when he saw no path remained except vengeance against dragonkind. Neither one of them had a choice in the matter. But he had one thing Nidhogg didn't: comrades to console him, and thanks to them, he was not consumed by his vengeance as Nidhogg was. Though Nidhogg is gone, he does not feel joy at his demise. He used to crave vengeance. Now he craves rest. He looks towards his helmet and thinks for a moment. He will surrender the mantle of Azure Dragoon. His hunt is now at an end. After saying that, he closes his eyes again. He tired himself out with all the talking. He needs to rest if he is able to make a full recovery. Imric too must see his path to an end, and to its end we shall see.
Following the battle with Nidhogg on the Steps of Faith, Sir Emery called an assembly that he might make his final proclamation as acting head of state. 'Twas there, with one decree, that the 1,000-year rule of the archbishops was ended, paving the way for a new republic. The governance of Ishgard would now be placed in the hands of high and lowborn alike, their ranks represented by the newly founded House of Lords and House of Commons. Church was separated from state. The foundation for change had been carefully laid. and the reforms proposed by Ishgard's new government passed into law without incident. His duty done, Emeric de Burrell gladly stepped down from the Archbishop's dais, only to be raised unto the highest seat in the House of Lords. Though he strove at first to refuse this honor, the unexpectedly strident voice of the Count de Durandare left him little choice but to accept. And so it was that the winds of gentle revolution came to stir. Prominent among the many honored guests at Sir Emeric's investiture were the ambassadors of dragonkind, a fitting symbol of Ishgard's newfound peace. The people looked on in awe as he soared through the heavens on dragonback, and by their cheers did they hail him an azure dragoon for a new age. Thus were the notes of the Dragonsong rewritten, the din of war giving way to a rising litany of peace and hope.
Count Edmund is finishing off his memoir. This one is aptly named Heavensward. Thus our journey is over. We see that Estinien's room is empty, but on the windowsill lies his bloody dragoon helmet, along with some flowers in a vase. The light from the window is breaking the darkness that once loomed over the room. And thus did grey mist give way to azure skies. Man and dragon rise above, voices joined in song. But beneath shrouded bows, beyond the scope of light, shadow stirs. Even though the Dragonsong War is truly over, it doesn't mean that there are no threats left. One of the warriors of darkness, Blindhearts, is seen talking on a link pole and looking towards the abyss where we threw Nidhogg's eyes. We then see who is on the receiving end of that conversation. It was the warrior of darkness, who seems to be conversing with Elidibus. Everything seems to be going according to plan, except for one curious little mouse. He notices that Alice has been following them the entire time, and readies his axe to strike, but is yet again stopped by one of Thancred's knives. He calls for her to retreat this way. Elidibus tells him not to worry about them. Everyone has a part to play in this plan. May you ever walk in the light of the crystal.